A very warm welcome, Hemal, Rajendra, Sudhakar. Always a pleasure speaking to all of you, right? It's a stellar panel. All the three of you come from very, very different backgrounds. I think it makes the next 45 minutes to 50 odd minutes a great session. I'm sure all of you who joined in will find this conversation very interesting, right? In my course of my presentation, I walked all of you through, how we as an analyst firm see, this entire, landscape of work changing, and how devices play a very, very pivotal role in this entire process. And it's just, we felt that it is just fair to say and truly believe that device is the new office, right? So probably I'll start today's conversation maybe with Himal, right? Himal, in my previous conversations, you said how your organization adapted itself during the pandemic, how you came back with full strength, how your organization is an organization which delves deeply into manufacturing, software activities, so on and so forth. So, but in the last couple of years, and so Rajendra, I'm going to ask this question to both of you as well. Do you feel your device strategy, right, has actually evolved itself to manage the kind of work that we see, in the current scheme of things? Because we still see, while it's great to see a lot of people coming back to offices, but we see many organizations, but most organizations still work in a hybrid environment, where you have the flexibility. But while that's a great initiative, a lot of employees and employers are happy. But for people like you, who've got to make it functional, is not an easy task. So probably let me begin with Hemal, and then probably then, because since you all come from very different backgrounds, so it's great to get your views, Sudhakar and Rajendra as well. Over to you, Hemal.
Thank you, Aparna. I think you rightly mentioned the post-pandemic work scenario has actually led to the change in the way that we look at our endpoints, right? The devices that our end users use. And coming from a hardcore manufacturing kind of a setup kind of organization is in, right? Lot of work still happens in the factories. So while those definitely cannot be working from home, but the other part of the workforce, wherein earlier probably we would have used desktops, you would have desktops because people were always in the office. Even the laptops that you would have given would be kind of just functional laptops, right? Just to take care of the basic needs. But over the last few years, we have changed our strategy completely. We have in fact revamped our laptop policies. We have brought in a lot of job roles and functions into the eligibility for using a laptop, for providing a laptop, right? And even the laptops that we have now chosen in terms of configurations, etc., the models, etc., we looked at various parameters. We looked at what are the capabilities the laptops provide to us out of the box, right? Some things like security. That's the most important thing. Earlier, when everybody was in office, there was only one point that I had to control, and I could control everything else. But now, with everyone being everywhere, all over the world, my office becomes that way completely segregated across multiple locations. So my endpoint now becomes my firewall, so to say, right? So I need to ensure that that becomes my first point of barrier in protecting my information, my office information, and my device, right? So laptops having inbuilt security, features, laptops which had a capability of doing self-service analysis, troubleshooting, monitoring, so that the users don't have to always be dependent upon IT teams who are now going to be probably thousands of miles away and may not be able always for support if their device has problems. So those are the kind of models that we adopted. We use Dell as our preferred brand and organization for laptops. And the new policy that we also did was we also introduced a faster refresh rate, just to ensure that the devices also remaining updated with the new technologies that are coming in and the new solutions coming in terms of endpoint protection and management.
Hemal, I mean, it's good to see you somewhat echoed what I just shared in my presentation when you spoke about how we are embracing a more decentralized work culture. Earlier when we spoke about security, when we spoke about managing IT infrastructure, it was confined to our office premises. Now it's a little tad bit different, right? And then you spoke about, and you greatly spoke about, deployment services. Imagine. Thankfully, a lot of most of us are out of the pandemic. But I remember there was this when the pandemic was a peak, and onboarding was actually not so easy. And I remember, a lot of challenges that the device industry had in terms of, there was shortage of semiconductors, so on and so forth. And that was one part. And the other part was, you know, the entire onboarding of, giving a laptop to an individual, making sure that they have all the applications available to them is no mean task, right? So I'll take uh, Sudhakar and Rajendra, and then probably I'll go to the other questions. But since we're starting our conversation, he will give his view. Why I find it interesting is, for instance, Rajendra comes from the world of data and analytics. Again, extensive usage of compute from an endpoint device perspective. But Sudhakar, yours is an industry which has traditionally been known for very heavy usage of the endpoint device, right? Which seems feasible, possible in a office environment, because we are fully aware of the demanding requirements that animation requires, right? Now in such a scenario, I mean, I think it would be that much more, a little more difficult for someone like you to manage the Workspace monitoring initiative, considering the kind of work that you do. And I'm not even touching the security element, just the performance bit is what I'm touching upon. Sorry, over to you.
You rightly said, Aplak, we use very high-end workstations and graphical, units. We use very high graphic GPU memories and very high core machines, so that we can deliver very high quality of the content.
Right.
For the all kind of mediums like OTT or the theaters.
Right.
So when this was never a situation for the animation or the VFX industry that we would go on remote working, and always we concerned about the security, because even single image goes out, then say it makes a big security threat and financial losses to the organizations. So in this scenario, what we did is instead of transferring these high-end workstations to the user's home, so we adopted technologies which can just transfer the pixels to the home PC, which is the remote desktop, and it's just like a dumb terminal. It just transfer the pixel instead of transferring the content.
Okay.
So that way, there are technologies which provide these, kind of scenarios. So which helped us to transform very quickly and to get on track to deliver our, content.
Oh, there's some amazing workarounds that, I mean, because like you said, I remember conversations with you in the past where you said you work with large production houses where every data transfer is of sensitive nature, because they're so heavily protected from an IP standpoint. Even because you work with the media industry daily, I think it's a great cue for a lot of people who are listening in. I'll keep that in mind, and probably I'll before I get Rajendra into the conversation, as a part of our the process of have hosting such webinars, I think it's very important, that we include our friends who are listening today into our conversation. So while I would love to speak to such a big number, but given that's being a challenge, so what we did was we asked a couple of questions, and I thought this is the best platform to share what they feel. So the first question that we had asked them, what was like, what are some of the key challenges that you think which need to be addressed to have a future ready modern workplace? And some of the parameter which scaled out was challenges with existing legacy tools and solutions. Then a weak IT security infrastructure considering that it was a centralized workforce. Then you had, integration, migration related complexities. Then unclear policies regarding future of workplace, and so on and so forth, right? So with this, Rajendra, I'm bringing you into the context here. Like Sudhakar said, like Hemal stated, right? The way we work has fundamentally changed, right? You represent a growing organization. You represent an organization with not only deals with data, but also its data requirements also increasing as the work as a whole also is expanding, right? Considering this, what would you say are some of the key learnings, around IT infrastructure management? Considering that the work has really broadened its horizon and gone beyond the office premises. Because for a company like yours, where people are distributed, right? How do you see some of the challenges getting managed? Like I said, like our friends have echoed that, managing, legacy solutions and infrastructure can be a challenge. Then there's so many other challenges. What is your view of this, and what has been your go-to strategy to manage this?
Yeah, like certainly, I think from the IT device strategy, what we realized was, we started zero desktop policy. What that means is we stopped buying desktops completely. We started to invest quite a lot in laptops and high-end laptops. Uh, then the other thing, like what you're talking about, is the hybrid network. So we have people working from 70 different cities in India, and then North America and Singapore. This panel interview itself, as you can see, that we inaugurated our office in Chennai. Right now I'm taking this panel interview on my mobile while there is a cyclone, and in the evening I'm going to go to Tirupati with my family. That's just going to become a reality where work and life are becoming so together. So some of the things that we are seriously considering is how do we really improve the associate experience? How do we really allow them to connect very easily? And then the different things that we are trying is, can BYOD really become reality? In our business, communication is very important. So in terms of because we work with a lot of customers outside of India. So what we realize, like the kind of sound quality in their laptops, right, with 70 decibel and above, it really helps. The quality of the cameras, if it is really good, then it's an advantage. Then when I visited Cisco last time, what we saw was they have some camera and mics are integrated, and the mics are very smart. So like, for example, if there are 20 different people talking from different areas, it automatically zooms in the person who is talking. Then when we visited, maybe I visited VMware, where I saw there are different solutions like either VDI or remote desktop, like someone just said, that can again help. And we are seriously considering. Next month, we are going to spend time at Microsoft, a couple of days workshop purely on what all new devices that have come that can further improve the associate experience. So right now, really, we have to really check out what all new things are there. Another thing that is going on is like metaverse. Can it really help to create avatar? So a CEO or HR, can the onboarding become a very different thing, different experience? So multiple factors coming in, and as you said, like managing it is the other big part that is coming in. Is everything is shifting to cloud. Like we completely moved our data center to Azure, AWS, and now how do you manage that? What do you do? So these are some of the challenges ahead of us, but it is exciting, new challenges and new environment.
Rather, you gave out some great interesting points. You touched upon, and I'll probably get back to you on that. You spoke about metaverse, uh, and I'll cover that in my next part. But I think you somewhere you spoke about the growing role of of the device ecosystem, and it goes beyond the usual device story. You spoke about how devices are more smarter, more intuitive, because I think Teal, when we speak about a relevant workspace modernizing story, we bring in four key elements to it. Like I shared, so one is it's all about anytime, anywhere work flexibility. It is about being working in a secure environment. Then the third is about the employee experience, and the fourth, very importantly, not spoken so much about, is making work policy sustainable, right? Given all these, and in some way you spoke about, the employee experience, right? I'll open this question to all three of you gentlemen. Anyone could probably take it. Probably, I don't know, Sudhakar, Vimal, Rajan, anyone. Uh, Considering that many of our friends are still working out of home, some of them are working out of their office environments as well. You know, how do you think the emergence of the device ecosystem is helping the end user experience? I mean, Rajan gave some great examples, of how collaboration solutions have evolved to that extent. You know, Sudhakar, Himal, what is your view to this? How do you see the overall impact of devices? The end devices which help in actually modernizing the way we work. What is your view to that?
So I will give some insights on this.
Sure, please.
So as a traditionally we never used to allow a single camera in our premises earlier.
Right.
To protect the content.
Mm-hmm.
After this pandemic, we have to open up that to facilitate the users with cameras and microphones and the headphones.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, the experience to the user, when we started work from home, the users used to have their laptops at home. They can have their own devices like a headphone, like whatever of their choice. So now when they come to office, then we need to consider the high-end workstations as well as the integrating them with the proper audio video devices.
Right.
Completely, the way we completely changed what we think earlier than what it is. So this gives a different experience to the users. When we are onboarding the user, we give them a proper induction of 3 days, and we brief over the policies and how the devices will be configured, all those things. And every employee will be ready with whatever is required to take their calls, because since we have office in different locations now, they have to interact with the different people and sitting in different offices. So we have to accommodate everyone with these devices. And we also care about the workplace, and not only the device, workplace that should look neat and that should give appealing to the user, so that we can expect good work from them, even some good productivity from them. So we always look for some sort of integrated devices where we can get all in one kind of thing. You can avoid all these cluttering cables. That's
Right.
what.
Perfect. Hemal, like I said, again, back to you, because you represent an organization which is which comes from a deep manufacturing background, right? A lot of work happens on the shop floor, right? Rajendra very nicely put in he cued in metaverse as an example, and at the end of the day, you need an endpoint device to see all of that. And like I said, I'll come back to that. In your experience, do you see the future of, because we speak so much about industry 4.0, right? And how computer designing, edge computing for for real time delivery of data and analysis, is helping this charter this growth journey. But what is your take? I mean, have you seen, in all honesty, the manufacturing sector actually getting help from a device perspective, and because like in Sudhakar's view, it's a fairly given scenario, because his workforce is totally dependent on a device. What is your view to that? Because this is where the advantage is when you have people from divergent backgrounds.
Right, Colin. So, you mentioned very correctly that in the manufacturing industry, right, for us, everything still happens on the shop floor.
Right.
And being there, looking at the performance of my production lines, etc., is something that definitely traditionally has been that there's a guy standing near the machine, looking at, overseeing it, and taking actions as and when he sees something going abnormal, right?
Right.
But now with the advent of Industry 4.0, right, more and more of this is now happening remotely, right? And to give you some very good examples, some of things that even we as an organization have embarked on is how are we able to capture the data from the machines itself, analyze it at the edge, and then send the relevant information, the analysis of that, send it out on the cloud, so that my production manager, my maintenance manager, who's probably working remotely on that day or that time, still is able to understand what is really going on the shop floor, right?
Right.
That is how a combination of edge devices on the shop floor, talking to a cloud-based platform or solution, which is being accessed by my team, which is kind of remote. The combination of all three is giving that advantage of not having to be actually on the shop floor to ensure that the production is up and running always, right?
Right.
And now what happens is, important thing over here is also communication part, right? Now, if the production head or the maintenance head is off site, if he's not in the factory, he needs to communicate with his team to tell them what they need to do in terms of probably fixing a potential problem that may come in, or if the machine really goes down, what needs to be done. Collaboration tools become very, very important, right? So we have, kind of gone full-fledged and adopted a collaboration platform, and all of our users are on the same platform, either doing audio calls or video calls. And that's where the quality of your endpoint device, which is in the shop floor, also becomes very important.
Right.
Is my camera good enough for my production manager to see actually what is happening on the line?
Right.
Is my mic good enough for the supervisor on the ground to communicate clearly and give the right inputs? That's where this device and all of this should happen in secure manner. I'll again keep going back to the point of security, because now more and more as we go towards cloud-based solutions, right, we are exposing your data up, and
Right.
then the security becomes very, very important there. So that's strategy that we have kind of adopted.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hemal. It's interesting to speak about security, and I'll get your views to that. But before I do that, I'll probably share another, data point with all of you. Because the second question that we ask our friends is, what are some of these common aspects, that makes IT teams feel burdened in today's hybrid workplace culture? Because let's understand the fact that while we all appreciate a hybrid work culture, the pressures on people like you is far more. I mean, you already had a lot to manage. Now we have put in one more spanner by saying manage people working from homes. So, and while we love working from homes or working from anywhere, it's given you one more thing to manage, and it puts bandwidth pressure. So let's just understand this. So, and I'll probably come to my second point, because Hemal, you spoke about security. In fact, my second question is around that. So some of the challenges why your IT teams feel burdened is many. One is lack of proper tools and technologies for better IT management. You know, uh, troubleshooting becomes difficult for remote work employees. And influx of new apps. I think somewhere, Hemal, you spoke about this. Many of our companies who are digital native, cloud native, or many apps which are residing on, say, a mix of on-premise and cloud, deployment and management and supporting has become more complex, right? So keeping this element, Rajendra, I'll probably bring you in. In my presentation, I spoke about, when we speak about a device, right, an endpoint device, it is not fair to just speak about a device in isolation, because considering what it does for an organization today, and literally the office is in the device itself, there are four, and we broke it down to four stories. One is, deploying the device, so that it is good to use from day zero by an employee, right? Then is the question of securing the device. The entire, you know, imagine the entire patch work gets automated. As an employee, you don't have to do successive troubleshooting, right? Then comes an element of managing your devices centrally. So, for example, you all of you represent large organizations where everybody does not need every application or workload, right? Where you entail, that I give access to these applications to these individuals, ensuring a secure work environment. And then last, but very importantly, the element of IT support. Because, I mean, in my personal experience, and you'll know much more than this, still 7 out of 8 troubleshooting that happens still ends up happening with certain basic issues with devices, right? Now, all of this was never easy, but still manageable because you had your IT team do it on the floor itself, right? We know there are various ways of supporting and managing all this. How do you get all these 3 elements, and how important, are these 4 elements of deployment, security, central management, and IT support really helping companies like you? Rajendra, I'll get your views and probably then get Hemal and Sudhakar into the conversation.
Yeah, I think for that, I would I would like to thank multiple partners, who help in these areas. Like, we depend quite a lot on, say, when it comes to security, you have like billions and billions of logs that come from the devices, and these are all security logs.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are very, very sophisticated softwares out there, be it IBM QRadar or whatever, that will that scan it and tell you, what are the positive false, negative false, and the team is able to act on it. So that is one part. Then working with a lot of software companies, vendors, for your endpoint protection, where they not only, if there is any malware attack, they not only catch it but kill it in like less than 5 minutes. So that's and there are so many of them out there. I really want to take this opportunity to thank them. I mean, because of them, we are in a safe place, I would say. Managing these multiple things, yeah, I mean, again, for help desk, there are very good softwares out available.
Right.
So one thing that happened was, with this pandemic, our dollars started going a lot more on, instead of spending that money on the hard infrastructure. Like, we have a Google type office and we have spent a lot of money. I was actually able to get some of those dollars and spend more on the IT, like better devices or better security posture or buying their collaboration software. So I think slowly that shift is happening, and I think that is helping, the CIOs, I would say, where the management and the board is understanding like how important and critical it is going to be. Yeah, I
Right,
I
right. I get what you're saying, and thank you so much. But I'll probably get Sudhakar here. Sudhakar, and I'll again reinstate what I said. See, for instance, you have a device, and then you have these 4 elements. How would it be in a scenario where, since I know my device posture, uh, can it, and what if there's one constituent member, who manages across the 4 pillars of deployment, security, manageability, and support? Okay, what I feel, and again, I'll probably get Hemal, let's Dava speak, and then I'll request Hemal to chip in. Hemal spoke about security. In my experience of talking to people like you, is what we also notice is, managing multiple vendors, multiple service providers also becomes a challenge. We at IT have a problem of plenty. There's so many solution providers. I mean, endless security providers, infra providers, cloud providers, managing them itself is a challenge on its own, right? So given that, now, if I get a device which comes with these 4 foundation service elements, how do you see that actually fundamentally different from how you saw a device as a standalone equipment? What is your view to that?
That would be a great approach actually, to have in one vendor and one manufacturer doing all these things. So I will definitely prefer that if there's some solutions around this, and which also leverage my IT staff as well. I can reduce burden on my IT staff. They can focus on the things which they're supposed to do, and maybe they can do some great things for the organization by developing some tools instead of doing these small support things. I will definitely consider this kind of solutions.
Right. Hemal, you spoke about security, and a lot of you have covered that. Because I remember in my conversations, Sudhakar, Rajendra, and Hemal, you gave some great examples to me. You spoke about how you foresee things like virtual ODCs coming in, especially in the ITS environment. You know, uh, how do you? Considering that this is how the de facto standard of work would be, there are issues around, for instance, IP infringement, and so how do you manage issues like shoulder surfing, for instance, like somebody comes and checks your device and automatically gets blocked. Do you see this as a potential area where you seek support from our vendor community? What is your view to this issues around, for instance, we talk about remote work, right? Now, are our devices adaptive enough to work in low bandwidth areas as well? Because everybody does not have a great network, right? Right now, also, we are all working. Some of us are working. Rajan is taking this from his vehicle. Sudhakar is in office. Kevin is in office. I'm doing it from my home, and we may have a patchy network, right? Everybody does not have LAN connectivity. Considering that most of us are touchwood getting a fairly seamless experience, how important is the role of device in the future? Because even the connectivity piece is a important congruent element to bring this together.
Yeah, so I was just saying that I just wanted to continue on my point about endpoint security. Now, if you take a traditional device, endpoint device, right, to keep it secure or to make it secure, you would have an endpoint protection solution, right? You would have a VPN to connect to your on-prem or on-cloud solutions, and then you would need some kind of tools through which you can deploy patches and keep the device updated with all the security patches getting released almost every alternate week, right? And fourth thing is support. Now, if the team is in office, if the users are in office, it's easy to go to the desk and support them. But now they are working from their homes, they're working from all over the world. How do you provide support to them? So you end up having a solution for that also. Now think about it, right? And just to ensure that the device is secure and is able to give you the user a seamless work experience, you may end up implementing 4 or 5 different solutions on the device itself. Not talking about the business solutions that they would actually need to do their work. Now, all of this increases the demand on the compute power, on the memory of the device itself, which would then translate into you getting into high-end devices, which unfortunately would add more cost, right? And for manufacturing organizations like us, margins are very, very different in margins, right? We cannot afford to have high-end devices being given just because we need to give a better work experience for remote work environment. So there, if you're able to get a solution from the OEMs, wherein a lot of these things are on the chip itself, and those kind of chips are now available, security, be it remote management, and so on. It's coming out of the box. At least we then don't have to depend on too many partners. We don't depend on loading the device too heavily. Software is just maintained, just required to keep that running. Right? I would rather focus on investing in business tools which will help in my business growth rather than trying to invest in tools which will keep the laptop on always. That's how it is. So those kind of all-in-one box solutions, if they're available from the OEMs, definitely it would change the way workforce modernization is being looked at by organizations like us.
Right. So, Hemal, thank you so much. Rajendra, when we speak about the four elements of deployment, security, and centralized management, I think we've touched upon all of these elements. I would like to bring your notice onto the IT support, which seems fairly basic. A lot of software applications which help you do that, but that's more from ticketing standpoint. But given your experience with IT infra, how do you see the role of new age emerging technology like AI/ML and predictive analytics help you? Somebody, I think Hemal in his introduction said how you are increasing the shelf life of a device, right? So which in a way is a cost reducing feature. So you buy a high end device, and you make sure the device remains with you for a longer time. So eventually the total cost of ownership kind of reduces. What is the role of solutions like AI/ML and predictive analytics in IT support? I mean, have you experienced any of that, or what is your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, like, see, one thing is all these manufacturers, OEMs, I feel that they will have to significantly improve their empathy towards end users and get a lot more engaged and involved in terms of what exactly the end users are doing. I mean, like, as an OEM, my job doesn't end like I sold this device and I'm done. No. I mean, as we see things are moving more and more towards service, the device kind of, I think, will become more like a service than just a one-time transaction.
Okay.
And that's what I'm hearing from my other colleagues as well. So that is something is a very important shift. Now, from that perspective, if you look at AI, ML, now once they have, I mean, like all of these things depend at the end of the day on the data that you have, right? How much data you are, then only you can have any predictive analytics and things like that. So,
but Rajendra, I'll tell you
now
where I
if
came from. Sorry to interject you.
yeah,
For instance, you
yeah,
have an end user, right, who uses a particular
yeah,
device. Now, just
yeah,
looking at his past data points in terms of how he uses data, right? Predictive
yep,
analytics
yeah,
can give you an assessment of when the next issue will get logged, and hence the mitigation strategy or the resolution strategy can be preempted or done. The TAT is quicker. So my ask to all the three gentlemen here was, how do you see the role of predictive analytics help you in IT support? I understand how the journey has been so far. So my question is more to do with how just looking at the user experience or the user history with devices, how can say predictive analytics help you in better rollout of services from an IT support standpoint? I mean, anyone would like to take it as Hemal, Sudhakar, Rajendra?
I can go.
Yeah,
I can take
please.
a stab at this.
Sure.
Right. See, what is happening is, with these new age devices that are coming up, they have inbuilt self-healing solutions available, right? For example, and it keeps giving you warnings, like the CPU is heating up, for example, it tells you. Obviously, all this is getting logged within the device itself. Now, if I'm able to extract those logs out, right? If the device OEMs give us permission to extract those logs out, I can then run AI ML based analytics on that to see what led to the situation happening. And hence, I can then monitor and in this device regularly to see if even so that situation happens, I can stop it or even do preventive activities before the situation actually happens. And that's where my IT team is now not doing reactive support; they are now getting into proactive support.
Right.
So
Right.
they reach out to the users immediately saying, "Look, your device is likely to go down. We want we want you need to allow us to do a fix on that now, so that it doesn't impact your work when actually it goes down, right?" So that's a shift that definitely will happen, and that is very much possible. You see, there are a lot of solutions today also available, which kind of they monitor device regularly, and based on predictions, they would actually go and create a ticket automatically in a ticketing system.
Right.
So
Precisely.
that's the progress I'm talking about, right? And this is something that is available. It's just a question of how quickly we can adopt to it, and how easier or the OEMs will make for them to share those logs with us in the end to help us, keep the device healthy and usable for longer, like a longer duration.
Right, right, right. No, Hemant, thank you so much. Sudhakar, I think at the onset, I think one of you, I think it was Rajendra who spoke about metaverse. It was just and I think you are probably the right person to talk about because you deal, if not with metaverse, but at least you're well versed with this entire area. Considering we've started talking about augmented reality, metaverse, and all that. So the devices of consumption have also changed over time, right? But considering that, when we talk about enterprise, or when I say enterprise, I'm essentially talking about a work environment. It could be a mid-market, a large enterprise, right? Do you feel as we slowly integrate, technologies like metaverse into our daily scheme of things? Like, for instance, I know of many organizations who have got metaverse as a part of their onboarding experience. We have virtual walk-ins through campuses through metaverse. How important and to get and that all of that is part of the, like I said in the beginning, the employee experience and the work policies, how you can make it inclusive and sustainable, right? How do you see that evolution from a device standpoint? Do you think the devices of future will be better equipped, and if so, what are some of the areas that you would like to suggest that our friends who are listening in, queuing, and also the vendor company who's listening to this conversation?
So definitely this, we are one of the content creators of this, VR kind of thing. We work with different devices. Of course, this employee experience by providing these kind of device will definitely improve. And onboarding is something that where we can use this kind of, devices. Since there are people joining from remotely, you can give an experience that how your office or workplace looks like. When they come to office, they can they know what is there, and which way they need to take to their seat, all those things. Definitely, these kind of devices will add a value even to the organization or even their day-to-day life also. Yeah, that's what I feel. That's what. Yeah.
Perfect. No, I'll probably I'd like to, because I'm just conscious of the time that we have, because we have another great session followed our panel. I'd probably like to conclude by asking all the three gentlemen, thanking you for your time, but I'd probably like you to end at a note. We've heard a lot from many people over the last couple of years, how the future of work is transforming and evolving. In your view, what is the symbiotic relationship between the future of work and your device strategy? How do you see that evolve, or any notes that you would like our friends to take away with? One area that you feel, if worked upon, can make this journey smooth. Hemant, I'll probably start with you, and then request Sudhakar and Rajan to join in.
Sure. Thanks, Aparat. So, in my view, an integrated workspace is definitely crucial for providing a seamless and a secure work environment, right? And with the advent of cloud-based collaboration platforms, business solutions, etc., which makes working from anywhere easier, it is important to ensure that the devices which provide to our end users are having those inbuilt security features, self-service capabilities, enhanced audiovisual solutions, etc., which will make their work experience kind of seamless and interesting, and make them productive as they would have been when they were working out of office.
Thank you so much, Hemant. Sudhakar,
I would suggest to choose a simple all-in-one kind of devices to avoid a lot of clutterings, and also at the same time you should consider the security and the scalable solutions. In future, you don't know what you need to procure So you need to choose always a scalable solutions.
Right. I mean, great 2 points, Sudhakar. Rajendra, before I sign off, I'll probably request your last inputs, your perspective of the future of work and its relationship with the future devices.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for organizing this. I think we are entering into a different kind of era now with hybrid work, with the integrated devices and all of that. So I think we'll have to like connect the human psychology with the devices, and at the same time consider all the aspects. Like in my quote, I said like connect, collaborate, and celebrate. But earlier we were doing it in person, but now all of it is going to happen on a device, and that too in a very secured fashion. So that's a big responsibility on people like us. But I find it extremely exciting, and looks like that's going to be the future.
I couldn't have probably chosen a better way to sum it up. I like the way you sum it up. I think the future looks promising, and the fact that we could do this, considering that we connected to different kind of devices on different time zones and bandwidth, I think it calls for a toast of what the future work really entails, and we have our devices to thank that for, right? Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure
Thank
talking
you.
to all of you. Hope to host you on many smart conversations. Thanks for
Thank you.
time being.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.